Hey everyone, my name is Ryan Doble, and today we're going to be taking a look at this camera here. This is the GoPro Hero 7 White. Now yes, I know this camera isn't brand new. This camera actually came out in September of 2018, which is why I want to cover if you should purchase this as a used option, not a new option. Now I actually have two of these courtesy of my uncle. Thank you so much. And that is because, as you can see, the background is probably different than most of my videos. That's because I am currently in Slovakia. I'm here visiting family. It's super nice. Thank you so much to my uncle for lending me these cameras to try out. But because I'm here, I don't really have the things that I would have in my studio to film. Regardless, we're making the best of it. Let's get right into the video. So we're gonna start off with the body itself. It seems like it's entirely made out of plastic, but it's a very rugged plastic, which I would feel confident throwing into my backpack, or even if it dropped from a significant height. Now, I haven't been able to confirm online 100% if it's plastic. It might have some metal underneath it, but from what I can tell, we'll say that it's plastic because I know that the other GoPros do feel more like metal. Looking at the front, you can also see that there is no screen over here, which you would have on the black models. This isn't too much of a problem because at the time that this camera came out, they didn't include the screens where it was like a selfie camera where you could actually see yourself. It was just a little LCD indicator display just letting you know what resolution you're filming in, if you're in photo mode, video mode, how much storage you have left, that kind of thing. All of that you have visible from this screen over here, so not that big of a deal. You do have a little indicator light over here which lets you know if you're recording. And one thing to note is this little front element over here is not interchangeable like it is on the higher end GoPros, the GoPro Black models. So if this cracks, then you're kind of out of luck. You got to buy another one. Now, spinning the body around, we can see here on the side you have a sealed compartment for USB-C and your SD card slot. This takes micro SD and it officially supports up to 128 gigabytes. However, you might be able to get away with higher storage counts, not 100% sure there. And then at the bottom, you don't have a removable battery, so you gotta use the USB-C on the side to charge this camera. On the opposite side over here, you have a mode button and the power button, you hold it to power it on. And at the top, you have the record switch. That's enough about the body. Let's talk about the internal recording specs of this camera here. Underneath this piece of glass, you've got a 10 megapixel CMOS sensor. That means your photo resolution is gonna be about that equivalent of most iPhones that have been released within the past 5-10 years. That doesn't mean that it's bad per se. 10 megapixels is totally good enough for like huge prints even nowadays. The Sony a7S III shoots 12 megapixels and that's like a $5,000 camera. So you're chilling at 10 megapixels. For video, this records 1080p up to 60 frames per second. Unfortunately, there is no 4K. However, it is important to note that great 1080p will always outshine bad 4K that comes out of all of these cheap action cameras that you see out nowadays. Like this will absolutely dominate over top of those random $20, $30 action cameras you can find online, even $50 to $100 brand new. High quality 1080p like this entire video was recorded in is gonna always outshine bad quality 4K. By the way, be sure to watch this video in 4K because even though it was recorded in 1080p, the bitrate of 4K videos is higher, so you get a more straight out of camera appearance if you watch it in 4K even though it was filmed in 1080p. Little tip that you learn there. Now, like I mentioned earlier, 1080p 60 frames per second. Because this is a camera aimed at beginners, what does that mean? 60 frames per second means that you can do some slow motion on this thing. It's gonna go up to 2 times slow motion. So whatever you record at 60 frames per second could be slowed to be played back at 50% speed. So whatever you record with this camera at 60 frames per second can be slowed down so that when you play it back, it plays back at 50% speed. All right, we're firing through this video. We got through all the specs. We got through the external body of this camera. Let's talk about it. Should you buy this camera used right now, right here, or should you maybe pass on it, look for something else? Now, personally, I would say the answer to that question is maybe. It really depends on what price you're able to get for these things. Now, what I would do is I would go on eBay and look to see if you can find the GoPro Hero 5 Black. The GoPro Hero 5 Black shoots 1080p, same resolution as this, at up to 120 frames per second, meaning you can do slow motion that's 2 times slower than what this camera can do. Or, in other words, 25% slow motion instead of 50% slow motion. Now that's great and all, but it goes further than that. That camera can actually shoot 4K at 30 frames per second, so if you're not doing any slow motion, you will still get 4K quality, so you can crop it up to 4 times and it's gonna then be the same resolution as 1080p. That camera has GoPro's regular image stabilization, which is exactly the same as the stabilization in this camera. Even though the Hero 7 came out with Hyper Smooth, the Hero 7 White doesn't include that because it's the more budget option, so it just has the regular stabilization, same as the Hero 5. Now, when doing my research, I found that the Hero 5 is actually exactly the same price as this guy right here. So if you can get the Hero 5, you end up getting a little bit more features for your money. You can replace the battery as well. You have a screen on the front. You have all the additional spec bumps, which I talked about. Overall, it's just a lot more worth it to go for something like that instead of this. Now, it all depends on the current used market for you. If the GoPro Hero 5 is selling for more, then ultimately it may not be worth it for you to go for something like that. It might just be more worth it to go for one of these guys over here. In terms of image quality, they really tie close to each other, especially if you're shooting 1080p. It's gonna be up to you whether that 25% slow motion is gonna be worth it for you or if you're okay with just 50%. But regardless, either way you go, you're gonna be better off with these things than any of the cheap action cameras that you find on Amazon. Thank you everyone for watching. If you purchase one of these and you're like, shoot, I should have purchased a GoPro Hero 5, I wanna say, don't worry, this is still a really solid option. You'll still end up with fire video, crazy action stuff to show to your friends, your family, maybe post on YouTube. It's still a great option for you, so don't worry, you still did a good purchase. Anyways, I will see you guys next time. Ciao.